Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 10 of the Performance Link GT Cup Season 2 here at Twin Ring MOTEGI. Bit of a mouthful for me there. My name's Andy Thompson. I've got the very red Tom Bingham next to me, and I'll be doing your production as well. But Tom, getting to the very much tail end of Season 2, only 3 rounds to go, including tonight, and it's still interesting in quite a few of the championships.
Yeah, basically all across the board, apart from one of the classes which is getting a little bit distanced. Things are actually closing up dramatically. I mean, for example, the rookie class, we'll have a look at the points in a second, but in the rookies, we've got 3 drivers essentially tied for second place at the moment, which is just, coming into this late stage in a championship, that's fantastic.
It certainly is, and Twin Ring MOTEGI is not really one of the tracks that the drivers have got lots of practice with, so we'll take you around a lap, as always, from our very own Thomas Cope a little bit later on. But yeah, I think it's probably quite good to actually have a look at the point standings as they stand at the moment, because like you said, there's still quite a few of the championships well up for grabs. So let's have a look at the championships then. So in the pros, we got a brand new leader in the pro category. Iracing, after his great win at the Nürburgring GP last week out, has taken a 4-point lead over the long-time leader of the pro, Thomas Wangen. Ketu Larsen is in 3rd place on 90 points. Then we have Daniel Sedgley in 4th on 85, Lasse Sorensen on 82, Scott Mokes on 73, Arish Yamantis on 71, and Michael Hooper on 65. But that pro category now is very much an IGL coating parade, with a lot of the pro drivers obviously just fallen by the wayside. I think tonight we've only got 3 drivers in the pro category, and they are all IGL coatings, so very much a team event in that pro category. But we do have the 2 main protagonists here tonight, Neil-Erik Eisen and Thomas Wangen, that have been the class act in that pro field, and it's going to be interesting to see in the last 3 rounds who manages to grab that pro lead by the bull by the horns, and basically really pushes on to try and cement it. But I'm pretty sure Thomas is not going to let Niels get away from it. But it's going to be interesting in the top of the pro standings, even though it is a shortened field today. But one field that certainly isn't short is the Pro-Am field. So currently being led by Lee King McGee on 119 points. James Logsdon there on 2nd on 106, and really tried to capitalise last time out in the 2nd of the endurance rounds, and was going his way until very at the end, and obviously the AKM Racing guys switched over, which only gave a one position difference in that race. So as you can see there, the points still just over 10 points with 3 rounds still remaining, so it's going to be quite tight from them. So it's going to be interesting on that. In 3rd place then, it's very much up for grabs, and we can see there you got Sander Island on 89, Michael Goff on 87. And just like to point out, if Michael hadn't given Lee King McGee the position last week out, then he would probably be matching Sander, so I think Lee owes him something in return. Kim Andre Borland there in 5th place on 85, Christian Otterholt on 84, John O'Cook on 80, so he's had a little bit of a late surge in the championship after a pretty disastrous start. Casper Tosen in 8th place on 80, Alexander Scaret on 71, and rounding out the field, our very own Russ Fowler down there in 10th place. Moving over to the Anfield then, so this is probably one of the ones that are starting to run away. You can see there Tom Savage at the moment on 123 points. Stefan Anderson in 2nd place with Dane Racing on 105. And in 3rd place, Sharapon Asvon on 85, with Sammy Hendricks in 4th on 80. Simeon Moldeklev in 5th on 78, along with Gordon Haig, who's both on 78. 73 got Jimmy Vark. I'll say Rudd is having a real good late surge. to the championship. I think a little bit too far off the points to make a standings, but certainly between like 4 or 5 of them drivers for that 3rd place overall in that AM field. Over to the rookie field, like you were mentioning, super close at the top. So you got Sam Curran currently leading the way on 119 points, but then you've got 1 point separating second all the way down to 4th, with Nicholas Gronstrom and Paul Joseph Clist on 111 points. Alan Sandergaard on 110 after his excellent 2 race wins that he's had in that rookie field. So really having a late charge, and is my dark horse for that championship, I think. Torwin Melee there is having a good resurgence after what was probably a difficult start for him at the start of this league, being this is his first league he's raced in. He's really started to find his feet, and obviously he's still driving the Macca, so you've got to give him credit for that, that's for sure. But he's certainly having a late charge, and one you probably an outside thing that hasn't been around for a little bit, Ian Hennebury, back down there in 6th place. So a bit of shame that he hasn't been able to join us on the track. Looking at the team standings then, so currently leading the way is the RGL Coating E-Racing by Sunday Traffic Skull on 304 points. Team Bear Pope in 2nd place on 272, with Dane Racing after their late surge is up to 3rd place on 269, with Sim Racing Norway in 4th, Bear Pope 0 in 5th, AKM Racing in 6th place, only 2 points off Bear Pope 0. IGL Coating E-Racing by Kenzo on 209, Olympus Esports, Team Cotswold Racing and Performance Link heading out of the field on 161. So it's still all to play for in quite a few of the championships, but it's going to be a hard slog in that AM, because it's very much down to Tom Savage. But certainly in the Pro-Am, I feel that it's still up for grabs, but it's all down to what Lee King McGee can do out on track. If he continues his vein of form of being at the top of that Pro-Am standings, and it's going to be very hard for James Logston to think. And that's just the fine margins of this championship with the point system based on class. The real advantage point systems are the endurance rounds, and that's the first one we saw there. There was James had a real terrible round, so that's why he's playing a lot of catch up. And then you've got that the AM battle, which is super close, so that's going to go all the way down to the end of the season. And then we got the Pro, with Neil Eriksen and taking over 1st place for the very first time this season. So probably a prime opportunity to take the lead in the championship with only 3 rounds left, Tom.
Yeah, you see, that's one nice thing about our championship format. It does keep things incredibly close, maintaining your actual position on track, finishing those special events, it just leaps you up the leaderboard, astronomically. So if you can't make a special event, for example, that really gives the guys in the lower part of the grid to actually lower part of the standing, to jump up and start fighting for the championship. So we saw it in season 1 with Scott Mokes winning out in the pros right towards the end there. So it's awesome to see the championship coming down to these these fine margins.
Definitely, it's a little bit disappointing that we've only got 3 pros out on field. Obviously, we do have around about 11 pros signed up for the championship, but I suppose you get that in a season that the field starts sort of depleting away a little bit, and because they know they're not going to win, they decide to go away. But I'm really glad that a lot of the Pro-Am field has stuck around, a lot of the AM field has stuck around, so the really close ones out on track with still the good opportunities to get them positions are still there and holding strong. The AMs normally have around about 4 or 5 of them, certainly the top 4 that are fighting so hard for the positions. So, but it has been dominated, that Pro field, by the IGL Coatings guy. They just come in, first season they've come into the Performance Link GT3 Cup, and they've pretty much taken the bull by the horns and just started to run away with it. We did have Daniel Sedgley, which is a bit disappointing that he's not been able to join us. Probably the only challenger to that IGL top 3 after his win in Watkins, but unfortunately has not been able to join us. But there's still plenty of action and still plenty of things to be going on with, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, even though this is one thing with summer leagues in sim racing in general. I mean, you do find that the summer makes everybody want to go outside, so you start to see the field tail off, as you mentioned, and you get the dedicated people that are either fighting for the prizes essentially, or that are just sort of die-hard sim racers that want to keep going and sit in their rigs and sweat their what's off. But it's nice to see the amount of drivers that we still have this late in the championship, and I mean the prizes that are there are good prizes. I mean it's just opened it up to a lot of people that potentially at the beginning of the championship, when we were almost full grid, that didn't think they would be able to win something, now are contending for prizes out there on track.
Definitely is, but as you can see from the pictures, we do have a bit of a foggy twin wing MOTEGI race here tonight, but still be able to look at there. But let's have a look at a track map guide here, and done from our very own driver Thomas Cope. So we'll take you around a lap here of the twin rig MOTEGI. So coming over the start finish, relatively short straight down to the double turn 1 and 2, over to the left hand side, swinging it out to the middle of the track, getting over to the left, and then trying to hit the apex of that second corner to catapult you all down into turn number 3. Turn number 3 is quite a tricky one. It's almost like a 90 degrees or 95 degree corner coming in, so very easy down to first gear, trying to use all of the track and all of the curb, even some of the dirt on the exit of turn number 4 to try and get that little bit of speed here on one of the other smaller straights. Coming up into turn number 5, it's around about a 120 degree turn here before going under the bridge, and then going through the tricky section here, coming up through turn number 6. And then little short straight up to 7 and 8, literally trying to use all of the track to open up these corners, but pretty much just you can see the throttle input on the left hand side there, literally just feathering the throttle to try and make sure that you can get the car staying on the track and keep maintaining that speed before coming around turn number 9 there, and then onto the straight, coming up to the hairpin here. This is a vital corner to try and get right, to get that exit speed here of the longest straight on the track after turn number 10 down to turn 11. Very tricky corner coming up turn 11. It's downhill. The guys will be reaching near enough 240 kilometers an hour before hard on to the brakes down into the second gear, turning round right before coming under the bridge again, and then another opportunity here, hairpin turn number 12, 13 and 14 here. Quite a tricky one to get done, and we'll probably see a few cars maybe making a few mistakes coming around that corner, but it's going to be an interesting lap, and a lot of the guys are enjoying this track layout, even though they've pretty much never raced this. We had a lot of the drivers from last week saying that they've not even got the track, but it's certainly dividing opinions, but I think it's a great track.
Yeah, I mean it's this layout itself is almost about 3 miles long. It's one of those tracks where you've got a lot of very, very tight hairpins, a lot of tight corners, but that does mean you've got straights coming up to them. So despite it being quite a flat track and there not seeming like there's a lot of overtaking opportunities, if you get a good exit out of the corner, like at most circuits, you can attack coming into different zones. So corners to watch out for, in my opinion, are going to be turns 3 and 4. That double apexing left-hander, it's really renowned for people to miss the braking marker on the right-hand side there and run wide. It does feel like you can get on the power earlier than you think you can, and it can catch you out very, very easily as you go into turn 4. The other corners to watch out for, obviously, as you mentioned, coming down the hill into turn number 11, that one, I almost guarantee we're going to see some big sends there. And another thing we haven't talked about, the pit entry. The pit entry at MOTEGI is a nightmare. I mean, it's probably one of the worst pit entries of any circuit. If you haven't practiced it, it's something you're going to find yourself getting caught out very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's coming off the start of turn 13, so you miss out that last chicane and literally dive into the pit lane. But it's very twisty, so if the driver's, like Tom said, if you're not aware of it or you've not practiced it, it could catch you out. And we've seen many a time in this hour and 10 minute race is that drivers get caught out by the pit stop and the strategies are different, and that's where you can win or lose a race depending on what your strategies are. But that includes the entry and exit out of the pits as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pit lane speed here is only 60 kph, so what is that, 37 miles per hour, I believe it is. So that's not, it's not quick at all. You know, you can catch yourself out coming into the pits if you believe it's an 80k limit there. So you're going to want to hammer on the brakes really quickly. And also, it's not a long pit lane. It's not one like Le Mans, for example, where you've got loads of time to cruise along. You're going to be able to, you know, you're going to be able to make up some time there, but you've also got to make sure you don't get caught out and miss your pit box.
Yeah, it definitely is. And obviously one thing to note is obviously Team Bear Pope really getting into the swing of it with their Japanese-inspired liveries on all of their cars. So it's a great effort there from the Team Bear Pope. Watching Tom Savage at the moment in the foggy twin room MOTEGI. Let's have a look at the weather. So partly cloudy, 24 degrees, so track temperature is perfect for them. It looks a bit foggy from ours, but pretty much from their point of view, it's still easily visible on track. A little bit of haze the further you look out, but the drivers can certainly see the action in front of them. It is roundabout, but it is 4:55 at night here in Japan, so it should get a little bit darker. But I'm hoping this fog might lift slightly through the race, but you never know.
Yeah, when it says partly cloudy, you don't think it's going to be partly cloudy on the ground, do you? So, but but yeah, I mean, a bit of fog out there, but you know, it never hurt anybody, did it? A bit of fog, so it's good to see the guys out on track. The visibility, obviously, when you're on board with them, is still decent. But it is, you know, is it going to make some sort of potential problems looking down in the deep distance? You never know, but I think it will clear off slightly. We may get ever so slightly into the darker part, but I don't think it's going to affect the drivers much today. And as we're watching Nicholas Grönstrom at the moment, I'm just admiring those little happy faces on the side of his car, actually. So that looks, you know, he's happy. So we'll be happy too as soon as the racing gets going.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I believe Nicholas Grönstrom actually is on pole position for the rookie class. So as we're going to look there, one of the classic mistakes around Twin Wheel MOTEGI round turn number 1, just going in that little bit too hot around that corner. But there's so many, like you said, there's so many corners on this track. It's one of them tracks that really invites the drivers to try and push it that little bit too much and then really bites back. It's a really tricky track. It looks quite deceptively easy with like the open corners and 90-degree corners, but a lot of them are really deceptive. And if you try and push it that little bit too much, especially the corners you mentioned, round turns 3 and 4, they are treacherous ones for easily getting spinning cars around there and losing a lot of positions. Because bear in mind, not only are you spinning, certainly at the start of the race you're going to be having a lot of cars around you, so you're going to have to struggle to get back out on track, but then you're losing the speed from naturally being down one of the 4 straights, I would say. The first one being the start finish, then you got between 2 and 3, then it's between 4 and 5, and then you got 10 to 11, the big long straight at the back straight of this track. So you know, not only are you spinning the car and losing it from the spin, but you're also losing it from the top end speed that you would otherwise have got out of them long straights. And they're them fine margins in these championships that are super tight that can win or lose you the championships.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a fine margin when it comes to this later stage in the championship, and it's going to be exciting to see what the guys can do. But you know, watching on board right now with Thomas Wangen, for example, if you take a look and see the amount of or lack of actual runoff area there is between the rumble strip on the edge of the track and the dirt, it's, you know, that's not Astra or anything on the outside there. That is literally the dirt. The rear wheels will spin up and it will send you flying, and there isn't actually much runoff room here at Twin Wing MOTEGI. It's, you know, it's not overly forgiving if you have a big incident. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens out on track, and hopefully the guys can keep it on the sticky stuff.
Yeah, we're coming to the end of the 40-minute practice session. The guys getting in their last minute practice before we start this hour and 10-minute race. The setup is an open setup, so the guys can have whatever they want. We tried to make it an hour and 10 to try and get over that hour mark, so we almost forced the guys to try and do a pit stop. But we have seen out at Ruskeden, I think it was, that a lot of the drivers were able to get round the whole hour and 10 race on that one fuel, and that was really acceptable. So, you know, it's have the guys done the practice. I don't believe they'll be able to do a full hour and 10-minute round here, because there's a lot of straights, a lot of slow corners going into it, and then accelerating out. So I wouldn't imagine that they'll be able to fuel save around here for the hour and 10. So the pit stop strategies, like we've always come to love in this league, is going to be one to watch, and who does what in it and who comes out on top.
Yeah, it's been exciting actually in previous rounds to see the pit stop strategies, because we've had people jump 2, nearly 3 spots just with the speed they're able to go in and out of the pits. It's something that is absolutely crucial to these longer races. And if the guys are aware of that and they have done a bit of pit stop practice, as opposed to just running lap after lap after lap, it's somewhere they can make up, you know, a good sort of 2, 3, 5, even 10 seconds if they're really on point with it.
100%, but that is literally it. We will take the music and our dulcet faces off, so you don't have to look at us anymore before we go over to the grid. So that is the end of the practice, and we will now start lining up for the grid as it is. So at the top of the grid, Niels Eric's Eyes and a great pole position for him. Normally see Thomas Wangen at the front, but another one where Niels has got the better of Thomas Wangen there in second place. Ketil Larsen in third, with Lance Sorensen in fourth, and IGL Coatings all front 4 car. In the Pro-Ams, we've got James Logston on pole, with Mats Gentram back in second place. Lee King McGee in third, Daniel Carpenter in fourth, with John O'Cook in fifth. Michael Goff in sixth place. In 7th place, we've got Sander Island, Kim Andre Bolton in 8th, and rounding out the Pro-Am field of Russ Fowler in 9th. At the top of the AMs, we've got Tom Savage with Alte Rudd in 2nd place, Gordon Haig in 3rd, Simeon Molderclef in 4th, Stefan Anderson in 5th, and Mad Sayer in 6th place. Over to the rookie class there, we got Sam Curran in 1st place, Nicholas Gronstrom on 2nd, with Torbe Mele in 3rd, Alan Sandergaard in 4th, and Paul Joseph Klist in 5th place overall. So that is your grid here for this Twin Ring MOTEGI round number 10, and hour and 10 minutes, and it's going to be interesting to see. And we can see the pro fields just getting away. There will be around about a 2-second gap in between the classes here, just to help with any incidents that might be on the opening lap. So there's a 2-second gap between each of the classes as they start. But looking at the front here with Neo Exercise and Thomas Wang and Ketil Larsen and Lars Sorensen, so relatively probably a quiet race for the pros, although they will be battling quite hard out on track, I would very much imagine, certainly with Niels and Thomas being the top 2 drivers in there. So it's certainly going to be them 2 battling out at the top to see who comes out on top. But here they go over the start finish line here, getting ready to go, and they go, and Niels has a good jump there on the rest, so it manages to keep his place. Thomas Wangen in second, Ketil Larsen and Lance Sorensen, so no change there. Looking further back then to the Pro-Am field, James Logston gets a good start, and Lee King McGee and Mats Gentram back in are really fighting hard for that second place at the moment. Lee King McGee has managed to get that place, so he finds himself in second place overall in that Pro-Am field. John O'Cook down up 1 position as well into 8th place. Looking further back at the Am field, Tom Savage has managed to maintain his lead there, with Gordon Haig up 1 place, overtaking Alte Rudd in the first couple of corners. Further back then with the rookies, they are all pretty much in the same position. In fact, Torben Mele has had a bit of a disaster start there, losing 2 positions to Alan Sandergaard and Paul Joseph Klist. Alan Sandergaard, like we said, probably one to watch in there. The BMW just 3rd place there, has won the last 2 races in that rookie field, so it's going to be an interesting to see what he can do there. But let's join the back at the front on the opening lap here as we watch the cars. The IGL Pro cortege, I would say, going around the first lap, but Thomas Wangen has managed to get past Neil Eric's Eisen here at the end of this first lap, so a little bit of a switcheroo between them 2, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see them 2 starting to pull away from the IGL coaching guys behind of Ketil Larson and Lance Sorensen. So we'll probably have the two battles out on track. The hotly contested one is this one we're going to probably spend a lot of time on. It's James Logsdon and Lee King McGee, the two main protagonists in the Pro-Am field. James Logsdon at the front doing all he can at the moment, but Lee King McGee is certainly not letting him get any points gap closing as little as possible out on track. Just follow him there in second place, but pretty much a relatively good start to this lap there, and I think we only had one crash. I think it was Nicholas Grönström with Alan Sandergaard. Let's have a look at what happened here. So this is the start. This is the start of the rookie race here. So let's see what happens to them. Do they make a slight little bit of contact coming up through the start-finish line? Does it look like it's here, or is it down into the first corner? As they come past the start-finish line.
All looking clean so far. It could be into turn one, because turn one, it's you know, you do get up to a fair amount of speed before you fire onto the brakes there. But just watching, Nicholas Grönström seems fine. But was there something between PJC in the background there?
I think it was. Three wide, you can see him in the background there, 3 wide. We'll have a look at it, because there's Torben Melee lost 2 positions. So I think that's where he lost them, in that first couple of corners with the cars in the background going 3 wide. So yeah. No crash for the front 2, but saw how what Torben lost his 2 laps. But joining back up with James Logsdon now, who's managed to hook on to the back of Lance Sorensen.
Yeah, I was thinking actually, and he's looking down the inside on Lance Sorensen. The Pro-Am driver takes it down the inside and manages to squeeze it through there. Very strange to see Lance Sorensen not quite up on the pace at the moment in the BMW, but one track that will be good for the Porsche will be this one. It's sort of designed really for the Porsche. It's got those nice sort of corners where you can get on the power and stick it to it and actually get a good exit speed. So the BMW will run it down slightly on the straights, but James Logsdon, once again, as we've seen in previous rounds, doing a fantastic job and maintaining himself out in the lead at the moment.
It is. It's going to be that one round that really puts pay to him winning this hotly contested Pro-Am championship. You know, that one pesky round that he didn't really do very well on our very first endurance race, and I believe that was Road America. Probably when he's kicking himself for not doing well, that he is our resident American driver, not doing well at American tracks, but it's certainly going to go down to the wire, and I think it is going to come down to Bathurst and whether James can manage to win that one, and then it's all down to where Lee King McGee. So Lee just needs to know what he needs to do in that race to be able to win the championship overall. But it's the nervous moments when you're coming down to the last race, knowing where you need to finish out on track, but trying to execute that and not getting the red mist coming out on track is going to be the thing that Lee King McGee is going to have to battle with into Bathurst. But he's got to get past these 2 rounds first. If he has a disaster in one of these 2, it may open the door here for James Logsdon. But at the moment, James doing all he can, has a pro driving between himself and Lee King McGee, who's currently second. And Matt Gedstrom back in there, we're just looking on, is in 3rd place, but you can see how close the top of that Pro-Am field. Lee King McGee, Matt Gedstrom back in there is 3rd place, 7th place out on track, 0.8, and then you've got John O'Cook in 8th place, 0.8 again, and then Daniel Carpenter in 9th. So 4 cars there, very much closely following each other, and you can still see coming down the start-finish straight how close the pack is still together. I mean, we can put the track map up actually and have a look at them all. So you can see all the classes pretty much strung together. The AM one has been really strung out.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of spacing in the AMs. I mean, could that be lack of experience, or the guys potentially over driving, or it's a little bit hard to tell. But we did see on the camera actually a little while ago, Lee King McGee has now actually managed to get through. Oh, and it looks like Ketil Larson has potentially had an incident. He's dropping down the places unbelievably quick. There he is. He's had a spin in the BMW, in the Mercedes, and it looks like, is that the infamous turn 4?
Turn 4, yeah. Yes, it is. It looks like it is a turn 4 incident there. Let's have a look. One of the places we said is probably a hot spot for spinning cars here, down into turn number 3. Let's see what he does. Comes on to the, not a bad entry there, took it quite well, but then the car just steps away. You can see there, trying to put the power on too much. The back end spun away from him, and literally just spun the car around. Such an easy thing to do around turn number 4, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it looks like he didn't actually manage to get the car settled before he turned into that second apex. So not having the car fully balanced and getting on the power early, even in the Mercedes, which is normally quite a stable car, he's obviously spun the rear wheels up there and managed to rotate it round. But having a look at John O'Cook at the moment, who's having a good look on Lars Sorensen. Very strange to see Lars not performing as he normally does, and sort of getting mixed up. You know, 4th place in the Pro-Ams at the moment. So very strange from him, and John O'Cook will be definitely looking to get by and manage to catch up to Ken Strabachen and Lee King McGee.
Definitely is, but I mean, if you look at the track map, the pros are not really getting away from the Pro-Ams. We normally see that real big separation between the pros and the Pro-Ams, but at the moment, the top of the Pro-Ams with you know, James Logston and Lee King McGee are really pushing on to try and close that gap to Neil Iracing. You can see the gap there is 4.4 seconds to the back of the 2 front runners of Thomas Wangen and Neil Iracing. So it just shows you the speed that you can have around this track, and the Pro-Ams are really trying to close down on them 2 pros out of the way. They've already swallowed up the 2 remaining pros of Lars Sorensen. You mentioned Lars Sorensen, and we've had a chat with him, and he says, you know, he's quite good at the qualifying sessions, but then when it comes to the race, really struggles earlier on till the car starts warming up and everything's really up to temperature, and then he can start pushing on. But he's certainly been swallowed up by the Pro-Am field at the start of this race. Currently only 8 minutes and 34 into this 1 hour and 10 minute race, so still a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is you know, this is basically just in the section right now where the tyres are getting up. As we look at John O'Cook looking to take it down the inside, very, very late on the brakes. Is he going to be able to keep the room? He's pushing it too wide at the moment. Sorensen fighting back though, but is John going to have the power in that Mercedes against the BMW down the back straight here? We'll see if he makes a move down coming into the bridge section. The Mercedes at the moment does seem to have the power. Can't quite see the BMW on the left. It looks like he's managed to squeak through, but Lars does fight back. They're going 2 by 2. Pushing through. Now this is going to be incredibly interesting. This section narrows down so much it doesn't actually look like it, but Jono has managed to squeeze his way through there. Oh, and Lars very late on the brakes. Just does not like losing those positions to the Pro-Ams at the moment. But good move by Jono, kept it clean and managed to take up the position, and not too far off the back of Gemstra either.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that's that mid-pack. You can see in the timing tower how close they are. You got Lance Sorensen and Daniel Carpenter there in 8th place. Michael Goff, who's obviously trying to chase down as well to cement that 3rd place in the Pro-Am Championship. So needs to have a good race himself to maintain the pressure on the driver above him in the championship. And after his very kind gesture last week of giving that 3rd place to Lee King McGee, you know, it's sort of giving that 2-point deficit to the 3rd place driver in the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just having a little look through the timings at the moment. Tom Savage and Gordon Haig is actually getting incredibly close. There's you know, not too much of a gap between these guys at the moment. But Tom Savage does have Kim Andre Borkland, who does. Oh, is that Kim going wide there? Oh, and that's now allowed the McLaren to go through. We're nearly 3 wide. Yeah, a bit of headlight flashing to say thanks for that, but no thank you. And the McLaren manages to squeak past 2 cars in one corner.
Definitely is. I don't think there was much that Kim could have done, to be honest. The car was sliding to get back on track. I think he did a good job to make sure that he actually didn't go into the side of Tom Savage. So unfortunately, probably a little bit annoyed as Tom after letting Gordon through. We always see Tom making early darts. We saw that in the Nürburgring 24 hours, and pretty much the majority of the races that we've seen him early on dominate the AM field. But Gordon Haig in that McLaren is certainly putting it to him here today. Currently leading that AM battle after very fortunately being given up to probably one of his teammates. Tom, if he was a bit cynical, maybe said that was planned, but I don't think you can plan a sideways spin or a sideways slide in a car, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is, I think. But Gordon Haig doing an exceptional job, and obviously Tom will try to come back at him hard. But we've seen what happens last time out when Tom tried to push it probably that little bit too hard. He is an extremely fast driver, so it'd be worth just biding his time. He can probably fuel save behind the McLaren as well, just to make sure that, but then just capitalise on any slight mistake that Gordon makes. But you can see how racy and how much all over the back of that McLaren is the Mercedes drivers of Tom Savage at the moment.
Yeah, Tom Savage does have to be careful. You know, as we saw in Nürburgring, he drives incredibly hard and pushes it right to the absolute limit, as we saw with him coming out of turn 4 there. But those fine margins are the difference between being super racy and having a massive crash at especially a track this tight. So looking back at the moment at Outlet Red, who did a fantastic job winning actually last week round at Nürburgring, so sitting a little bit back off the pace at the moment. Still P3 in his respective category, but is he a driver we're going to see start to make up the positions and work through the field?
Quite possibly. I mean, he's in 3rd place at the moment, and obviously right on the back of Kim Andre Bortland, the Pro-Am driver. So it is in an ideal position to try and push on to be able to do, but you do have the very quick Gordon Haig and Tom Savage in front of him, and although he won it last time out, that does need to be sort of tempered with the fact that Tom Savage and Shamapan Asavon pretty much took each other out, which gave him in. But it was still a well-deserved win. He was on the pace in the Nürburgring, but you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here today. But looking a little bit further back, Nicholas Grönstrom is having a good battle with his main rival, Sam Curran. Sam Curran currently leading the way in the rookie field. Nicholas Grönstrom in 2nd place by 8 points. So will be, if it stays as it is, losing 1 point to make it to 9 points. But vitally is he's ahead of Alan Sandergaard, who's in 3rd place. You can see they're 8.1 seconds behind Nicholas, and then you've got Paul Joseph Klist, who's around about 21 seconds behind. But I do know that Paul's did that major 24 event, so maybe feeling a little bit tired here tonight, but you've got to admire his commitment for tipping up to come round here. And what he's probably trying to do is think, well, there's if I maintain this 4th place and basically keep to a clean lap or a clean race, I get an extra 2 points, so it's like moving up 2 positions anyway with the points table. So he may be thinking that, but he does have Torben just behind him there, the other McLaren that we have got on track, who's trying to chase him down as well, so not far behind. So he just needs to be aware of that. We're just looking in Torben's car now and looking at Paul Joseph Klist just in front, and Torben's been one of the drivers that have really come on this season, hasn't he, Tom?
Yeah, Torben's he has come on leaps and bounds, really. I mean, every round he's progressively getting better and better and better, and that's something we love to see from the rookies, the AMs, and even the Pro-Ams. You know, that's one nice thing about league racing. It does give you that option to build your confidence and start to learn, you know, where the car's strong and where the car isn't. It's a fantastic job, and I have to say, I just love listening to the sound of that McLaren. It just is a glorious car to drive, and it should be fairly well suited to the sort of unlikely heroes. So the McLaren, for example, the Porsche, they should be very, very strong around this track. You will start to see the BMWs and Mercedes drop off, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, when the tyre wear starts to come in, the bigger cars, I imagine, on this tight, sort of twisty track that we've got here tonight, it'll start sort of paying off later into the race. We may see some gains from the likes of the Porsche and the McLaren later on in the race. But the McLaren, like you said, is one of the cars that it's a good car. I mean, it's probably my favourite GT3 car to race in. But it can be a little bit twitchy. It depends on your driving style, really, on where you're at. But at the moment, Torben's stuck with the McLaren, so big kudos to him for doing that. But that has really paid off for him, because he's now starting to be competitive in that rookie field. If you watched our races from the start, you would have known that Torben was well off the pace. He was getting lapped probably once or twice on the earlier rounds. But has stuck with it, and now coming into round 10, so he's got 9 rounds under his belt with 2 endurance rounds. he's really starting to get to grips with how the car handles, and is being a little bit more racy out on track, and showing, you know, what he can do. And this will bode well for him if he comes back for season 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking at the timings. He's nibbling away, isn't he, at PJC? Did Paul have a bit of a slide there? That's really allowed the McLaren to get unbelievably close up to the back of PJC here. So Torben's just got to, you know, take it easy. By this time, the McLaren is one of those cars that it can bite you in the backside if you're not too careful. So, but I imagine PJC is going to be feeling a little bit, you know, a little bit of pressure now as he runs a little wide. I'm really hoping Torben can start getting up on the back of him properly. He is in the slipstream, and keep doing what he's doing. He'll get up to PJC, and we might even see a lunge coming into the back of the course here, coming into the downhill section. So, but riding on board at the moment with Lee King McGee, who's not too far behind James Logsdon, sitting at the moment currently P2 in the Pro-Am category and P4 overall.
Yeah, it certainly is. 5 seconds behind James Logsdon. James Logsdon has started to extend his lead and was eating into the pro lead. It was a 6.6 gap between Neil Eric Isaacson and James Logsdon, which James has managed to claw that down. And Lee's got a bit of an IGL car behind him that he's worried about, as Matt Genstrom back, and only 0.5 of a second behind him. So really needs to. He doesn't have to maintain this second place. He can afford to lose another place to James Logsdon, but really doesn't want to start getting 4 or 5 cars behind James, because that lead that he's got in that Pro-Am standards will soon get eroded. But let's have a look from the rear of his car. It's actually pretty clear when you go to that camera. Of Matt Gentra back in, and look how late that BMW is braking compared to the BMW of Lee King McGee. So these two cars very similar, same manufacturers, so no real advantage overall. It's very much down to the setup that each one of the drivers has chosen for this round.
Yeah, you notice there Lee actually getting a bit more of a substantial exit speed. He was able to get the power down a little bit earlier and managed to push himself away from Genstrom back in there. And you know, if he can maintain this and keep doing what he's doing, he's going to pull a decent lead. And you know, like you said, he doesn't necessarily have to get up on the back of James Logsdon. He can have a few position drops, but keeping it clean around here, it takes a good amount of focus to make sure you're maintaining that good line and not overdriving the car. So it does look like it's a really easy track, but this isn't an easy track. You know, there is no forgiveness here. So as we saw earlier on with the Mercedes incident, you've got to maintain the line, be careful, and try not to do anything too silly too early on.
Definitely. We're looking at Daniel Carpenter here, a new driver to the league, came in for the last round to the end of the season. The Audi. And the Audi seemed to be a very good car. A lot of the drivers switching from it to other car classes, but did seem to be very much on pace. But I think pretty much like the McLaren is that it uses a lot of its tires early. Oh, as we see one of the IGL coatings, that was Lars Sorensen, who spun there on the exit of turn number 9, so that could have been a bit of dramas.
Well, it was either Sorensen or Genstrom back in. Was it Genstrom back in? Yeah, let's have a look here. So I was going around turn 3, looking at the infamous turn number. Oh no, sorry, it's the S's.
Yeah, turn 8. This is turn 8 coming into turn number 9, and this is where we saw him spin. Goes into it. I think he's just braking too much, and the back end of the car just slips away. Like we were saying, look how close he was to Jono and to Daniel there. That was super close for causing a 3-car pile-up there, but luckily the other two managed to get away, and that there in the background is Michael Goff. So losing a few positions there, Matt, but like you were saying, this track is such an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's not an easy circuit. You know, a lot of people consider it a little bit boring and sort of more designed for the superbikes and that sort of thing. But in the GT3s, it really is a challenge, especially over this longer sort of race period. You know, we're only 20 minutes in. As soon as the tyre wear starts to happen, and you know, this tyre model isn't overly forgiving anyway at the moment on iRacing, but coming into these later stages, especially with the lighter fuel load, we're more likely to see the rear end have some extra rotation there. But right on board at the moment with Tom Savage in the Mercedes for the Bepo Zero team, looks like he's closing in nicely on the back of Gordon Haig. He's managing to keep up with that McLaren and looking awfully racy.
It is. The gap's pretty much maintained the same over the last 2 or 3 laps. You see Gordon Haig there getting onto the back of Lance Sorensen's really struggling in this track. You've got the AM drivers now getting onto the back end of the Pro driver there. But one of the things to note is Gordon's doing an exceptional job here. We know how quick Tom Savage is around the majority of the tracks. We know how much practice he puts in on the tracks for the race this Sunday. It's really good, and good to see that Gordon's holding off the assault that probably is feeling from Tom Savage at the moment. But Gordon Haig still maintaining that #1 position in the AM, and as Tom Savage literally glued to the back end of the firing McLaren.
Yeah, one thing that is interesting actually is the sheer fact that the McLaren seems to have a much better exit speed. You know, the Mercedes is normally the big brute that has has that power coming down these long straights here. But as we saw, even on the back straight and looking at the moment as well, he doesn't seem to be closing the gap as much as you would expect. Even though he does have essentially a double toe, the McLaren just doing wonders today. It's nice to see the old thoroughbred putting it to the other teams.
That's one of the things, though, isn't it? The McLaren, the Lamborghini, the Porsche are exceptionally good at it. Is going in late and getting a good exit speed. The Mercedes is not known for like its exceptional corner in handling. It's more get onto the straight and then starting to power out. But as you can see here, Gordon's able to scamper away, even if it's a couple of attempts. Oh, as we see Tom Savage just looking down the inside there, turn number 5, didn't thought better of it and then backed off, and that has lost him around about half a second to Gordon, just by just trying to push it that little bit too much. You know, just tuck up behind him, get that overshot on the pit stop strategy, and just bide your time. But Tom's very eager at the moment to pass Gordon, and that may come a little bit of a cropper later on in the race, depending on how frustrated Tom gets with Gordon. But Gordon at the moment doing an exceptional job.
Yeah, I wonder if Tom is feeling a bit of pressure from the last round out at Nürburgring, where he did have those couple of mistakes. So maybe he's deciding now not to push it as hard as he normally does, which, I mean, that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. He's currently obviously maintaining that second position in his class, but we normally see him driving like an absolute monster, and that puts him right up in the front of the pack. So has he learned from Nürburgring and now decided that, you know what, I don't want to make any silly mistakes this time, I'm just going to take it easy, bide my time, apply that pressure to Gordon Haig, and hopefully that will allow the McLaren to make a mistake. But if he's on the back of Lance Sorensen, who is a pro driver, I know he is closing quite strongly at the moment, but you are able to follow the lines of the pro, and that sometimes gives you a bit of a marker to follow, so you don't make mistakes that you normally would do as a lower level driver.
Yeah, it definitely is. But a great battle here between Gordon Haig and Tom Savage. Gordon going a little bit defensive here coming into turn number 3, but it's not really one of them corners that has a good opportunity. This turn 4 is the one that you want to get it in, and there's that bit you were on about, Tom. A little couple attempts of the second to be able to pull out, but then by this turn number 5, where he's seemed to be having a look, is where he can close back up on the McLaren. But it's very much a yo-yo affair at the moment at the top of the AM standing. But looking further back, another hotly contested one is the rookies. We've got Sam Curran currently just in front in another excellent Bearport livery. But we're looking at Nicholas Gronstrom, who's trying to chase him back, but at the moment not being able to make the passing move. So this is certainly a carbon copy of the AM battle that we're seeing between Gordon Haig and Tom Savage, where Nicholas Gronstrom is trying to make the pass here on Sam Curran, but not able to get close enough to make it really pay off. And I think the thing that's really helping him at the moment is Stefan Andersson there in 15th place is giving a toe to Sam Curran. So the toe that Nicholas would have been getting is sort of neutralised down these long straights because Sam is getting the toe off the cars in front from a different class.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, Andy. It's crazy the amount of slipstream effect that you do receive in these cars. Obviously, you know, they're the bigger GT3s. It's not like It's not like some of the smaller vehicles on iRacing, which is like, for example, your Mazdas and that kind of thing. So these GT3s, they really do depend on getting a good run through the air. They are having obviously some wash from the cars in front of them, so that does affect the handling. Coming around these corners, for example, at this close proximity, as we see a slight mistake there from looks like Torben Melee, and PJC goes through.
Certainly does. These two are having a battle over 4th and 5th in class at the moment. So good little bit of battling for these two drivers at the tail end of the field. But you can see there in the timing tower, Mads out of this race. And let's have a look at why that is. So we've got his sort of incident here. And Mads just coming up through the S's. So coming up to turn number 9. So pretty much it was that back. Oh, just literally done a carbon copy here of Mats Guns from back in, coming back on. So relatively minor incident there, but I'll have to see if there's anything else further up, because he was at the tail end of this this grid, and obviously decided to call it a day. I'll have a look to see if there was another incident with Mats.
Yeah, it did look like he sort of washed out a little bit there coming into the hairpin on the back straight. So if you have it, here we go. Right, let's have a little look. See, so
this is it. This is another crash that he was supposedly involved in. Again, coming up through the S's.
Yeah, through the S's into turn number 9, I believe. Let's have a look here.
Not, again? Does he do the
yeah,
same?
not too wide.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And then gets tagged from looks like Russ Fowler.
Yeah, it looked like Russ Fowler there for obviously our team, the Performance Link Esports team. So Russ driving the Ferrari today, Andy, not his normal Mercedes, and obviously taking a switch up from his Audi he's been giving a try.
Yeah, it definitely is. It looks like that car bit doesn't. It looks like it's crabbing a little bit, so that he may have had to go into the pit. Drivers do get 2 fast repairs to use on this, but the time, like you said, being it is a long pit stop, is going to be putting more time on him. But yeah, Russ Fowler, I think he's just really struggled with it with his car choice. He was a stable Mercedes driver at the start of the season, then he moved across to the Audi, tried to give that a go, obviously didn't like it, and now he's on his 3rd car, the Ferrari, to give it a go. I mean, he's at the bottom, and why not? He's at the bottom of the Pro-Am standings at the moment, so he's got nothing to lose to literally try the cars and find one that he likes, because the Mercedes was very much his stable car. I'm surprised he actually changed from that car, because he was super racy out on track, but at the moment currently round and round in 21st position, 8 positions down from where he started, so not the best of races in his new car choice.
Yeah, that's one thing as well, isn't it, with the GT3s? They all do drive incredibly differently. So the Ferraris, we don't see many of them out there at the moment. It's always sort of the BMWs or the Audis, as you mentioned before, which is his previous car choice, and also the Mercedes, which was his staple sort of go-to. But riding on board at the moment is Sam Curran, who's doing a fantastic job at the moment, sort of mixing it up there with the back half of the Anfield. He's managed to leap a position in front of Nicholas Gronstrom there, so he's got himself a little bit of a buffer behind with Anderson. But if he can stay on the back of these guys, he's going to work his way even further ahead, and he's in a perfect position to take the podium.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, a lot of the classes have really pulled out blind here. I mean, we got the rookies in towards the front end of the Anfield. You can see the battle there. Tom Savage, Gordon Haig is managed to pull out some time on Tom Savage at the moment, because Tom Savage is stuck behind Simeon Moldeclef here at the front of his grainer, with Gordon and Haig just off in the distance. So around about 2.8 seconds from around about 0.5 of a second, so lost a lot of time in the last couple of laps to Gordon Haig for that AM. But Sam Curran, has managed to latch onto the back of Tom Savage, and yeah, it's good to see the rookies now very much mixing it up with the top end. You've got Sam Curran here in 14th, Nicholas Gronstrom in 15th, around about 1.2 seconds behind Sam Curran, and it's good to see these the classes intermingling, and the top end of the lower class really starting to push forward, because obviously if they win this championship or in the top 3 of the championship, they get moved up into the next tier. So we'll be looking at if Sam comes back for next season. He would be in the AM if he wins. He's currently the leader of the rookie field. Very much 4-horse race in that rookie field, so could find himself where he's currently racing at the moment, and people around him will be the people in his class. So it's good to see that this late stage, as in round 10 with only 2 rounds to go after tonight, that a lot of the drivers are finding their feet now with the car, with the way the championships run, and starting to push on and make great strides.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just looking at the little battle going on in front there, one driver we haven't talked about today much is Simeon Moldeklev. So, had a very, very mixed bag on quite a few different rounds. He is a younger driver. He's only 16 years old, so he's managed to get himself an awfully nice rig and does compete in an awful amount of racing. So he's doing a fantastic job at the moment, holding off Tom's. Oh my goodness. Tom Savage looking right down the inside there, and that has actually pushed a little mistake by Simeon. Can Simeon maintain the back end of that? BMW's shaking all over the track. Yeah, he's got an unfortunate exit speed there, and that may allow the Mercedes behind to have a look, but nope, just manages to tuck into formation. But Simeon does lose that place to Tom Savage, and that now means Tom is going to have a bit of open track to concentrate and potentially drive as hard as he normally does, and get up on the back of the cars in front.
Yeah, definitely is, and the leader of I'll tell you what, it's
you just read my mind. You honestly just read my mind. How has Alte Red got in front?
Haig and Tom Savage been in an incident again and given Alte the lead? Let me have a look to see if I could see anything.
Could this be another Nürburgring repeat here? Where
here we go. Let's have a look at what happened between Tom Savage and Gordon Haig here, which it would explain why. Why is that? Let's have a look. Oh, that's Alte Wood. I don't know what to see there. Try again. Here we go. So this is down the start-finish line here. Side by side coming into a little bit of door banging coming into turn number 1. Do they make contact? Oh, yes they do. Spin around. Both of the cars spin around, and that is why, look, you can see there Alte just coming at the back, and in fact I think Gordon Haig got in front of Simeon there and caused the issue. So a bit of an incident there between the two, and it's almost like a carbon copy of the Nürburgring.
Yeah, you know, Alte Red just he saw that coming, didn't he? He's rubbing his hands together, and it was a bit of karma as the McLaren managed to push the Mercedes right around and ended up losing the back end himself. But Alte Red is absolutely smiling behind the wheel of that BMW at the moment, managing to gain an unimaginable amount of positions and leaping himself into the lead. I mean, he's got nearly a 4.5 second lead over Gordon Haig behind and Tom Savage. So we do see Tom Savage make some fantastic pace through the rounds. We've still got a decent amount of time left, including the pit stops. But one person that is fast at pit stops, that we've seen from previous rounds as well, is Alte Red. So, he could be on for another podium here. I mean, 2 podium positions, first places in a row would be a fantastic result for Alte. So, looking really strong for the Team Vikings driver at the moment.
Yeah, definitely is, and some great valuable points for him as well in the championship. Another late charger. One of the ones I was looking at for the rookie, Alan Sandgaard, looks like he has had an incident. Let's have a look to see what happened to Alan. Won the last 2 races in the rookie field, coming down the start-finish straight. Is this another victim of turn number 1? This very much a double apex corner, coming down into corner. Yeah, just literally loses it on his way in. Does he save it? He does manage to do it. I thought he was going to power slide around that corner, and it nearly did it.
Yeah, fantastic drift. You can't argue with that, can you? He didn't put it in the wall, so fair play to him. But riding on board again with Alte Red for Team Vikings. I mean, what a fantastic result for him. So it's it's looking like it's going to be glory all the way if he can keep it on the track. But still a lot of time left, and the other guys behind him, they aren't going to give up easily. They will be pushing him as hard as they possibly can in order to catch up to the back of him and apply some pressure.
Yeah, it definitely is, and you can see Simeon Moldeklev was thick in that battle with Gordon Haig. Tom Savage, he is now down in 18th place, and this is why. So tight little battle on track coming up through the S's here. Is this spin at turn number 9? We've seen quite a few of the BMWs do. I think this will be the third one that we've probably seen. Comes into the corner. Oh, I don't know if that was a little tag there from Sam Curran, I'm not sure, but spins it round at turn number 9. So another BMW spins it at turn 9.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him there. It's not been Simeon's day once again, and the Mercedes did look like he gave him a little rub, but you know, sometimes that's racing, and he may not have seen him there or noticed he was going for the dive. But you've got to give you've got to give room when you can. So watching at the moment, Thomas Wangen, who's coming around to lap the back runner of PJC. He does have Niels-Erik Isaacson, who's got a little bit of a tow from PJC. He's only running 0.3 of a second behind, and he's going to be saving a monstrous amount of fuel. So we may actually end up seeing Niels jump Thomas in the pits there. Having a little look at his camera, he's got another brand new camera angle for us today. We're actually getting to see his lovely face for a change, instead of seeing the triple screen setup that he has, rocking that brand new wheel. So not driving with any gloves, Andy, which is a bit strange. I can't say I ever drive without gloves, and it seems to be working for him. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. You see, that's where my pace is missing.
Yeah, it's a man after my own heart there. I certainly don't use any gloves. I prefer to do it what you would call naked in the hands and not have anything on there. I find the feels a lot better where gloves can be quite restrictive. Certainly as I don't have any legs, so therefore I use my fingers for accelerate and brake. But that's sort of my excuse anyway of not wearing gloves. And yeah, it's additional cost that the gloves wear out, and yeah, I prefer it. But yeah, Thomas, it's great looking at his camera. He's constantly putting his camera on all the time, and every week we get a different angle of his rig. So by the end of this season, we will be able to draw his rig for component by component, because we literally get every single angle. But at the moment, it's as we fought at the top of the standing, the fight between the top two pro contenders, Thomas Wangen and Niels-Erik Isaacson, 0.3 of a second. So very much following on. We did see last time when we spoke to Niels after the race in the Nürburgring about, yeah, they did change over for fuel strategy. I wonder if they'll do the same here or not. This is only an hour and 10-minute race, and Niels is saving quite a lot of fuel, just sat behind Thomas here. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do swap over to share out. But being that there's only 5 Pro-Ams, I think these two will be going as quick as they possibly can for an individual race. I mean, obviously we saw the point standing, and there's a 4-point difference. If it ends up like this, it'll be down to 3, and then if it's the same out next week or 2 weeks time in Suzuka, then it'll be down to 2 points, and it'll be literally winner takes all at Bathurst for the final 2-hour endurance. So it's an interesting, even though it's a smaller field in that pro now, and all the rest of the pros have sort of gone by the wayside. It's still hotly contested by these two drivers that are so close out on track.
Yeah, they're teammates, but they're definitely not friendly when it comes out to racing, which you generally see a lot with teammates. Nobody wants to be beaten. So we did actually hold a poll in the YouTube chat, and the poll was, will Niels win this round over Thomas Wangen? And it was a unanimous no, Andy. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So we're watching at the moment Daniel Carpenter for the SimFX Racing team. Really starting to push John O'Cook in the Mercedes up front. That Audi looks like it has some fantastic turning, but you'll probably see the Mercedes now stretch its legs and start to pull away on the straight, as we do see that happening right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Daniel, I said, a newcomer to the Performance in GT3 Cup. Yeah, really doing a good account of himself, putting up. John O'Cook is probably enjoying it as well, having somebody close to battle with. Maybe not quite this close for this many laps, and putting himself under pressure. But a lot of the drivers are probably not too worried. It's certainly the ones that are not really fighting for the championship come along for these races to have some really good battles, and I'm pretty sure these two are enjoying the battle there. We saw Daniel getting slightly wrong coming out in the last corner, and the gap extending to John, but coming into the corners, like we were saying, that Mercedes, the big beast that it is, very much struggling a bit. Obviously Daniel there just weaving, trying to get some heat back into the tyres, but I don't think that's going to be an issue, Daniel, considering you literally just slid around the last corner. So not quite sure what that was, but maybe just say to John, I'm still there.
Yeah, I mean, just watching Daniel's driving at the moment and his steering inputs, you know, he's driving basically neutral a lot of the time coming out of these corners. So you'll see the steering there. He's, you know, he's turning the wheel out and actually what looks like potentially sort of ever so slightly drifting the rear end of the car, which is giving him some fantastic speed. But you know, these setups, they are open, and that could be something that he's got to be careful with there. We did see him make that mistake coming onto the pit straight, and that's allowed Jono to eke away a little bit. But the Audi does have some fantastic braking and decent turning. But as you see again there, the rear wheels of the Audi just spinning up ever so slightly, and that allows Jono to put the power down on the big old Mercedes and start to pull away.
Yeah, look how they close the speed in the corners, and the difference between the two cars it's great to see. You can see the steering input on the left hand side of the screen there. I'll put the race up in a minute, but it's good to illustrate what Tom was saying about, you know, going around the corner and spinning the tyres. But what that will do is put excessive wear on them Audi tyres. So come the end of this race, it may be a different story of if Daniel can actually still keep up with Jono here in the Mercedes. But it's certainly good to see on board that these two have been pretty much glued together since the first lap on track. Let's have a look back at Gordon Haig. He is now close again to Tom Savage, 0.2 of a second. So these two that were fighting for first and second in that battle are now fighting for second and third, and they pretty much let Alte Rudd, and you can see that lead now because these two are fighting so hard. That was around about 4.4. It's now grown to 5.4 seconds. Let's have a look at the difference. So 51.9, so a bit quicker that lap than there. But you can see there, Tom going extremely wide there. Very different lines you can take around that first corner. We saw in the video from Thomas Cope was that he pretty much went out wide and then cut back in for the second apex. And you're just seeing Gordon there taking it super tight on both of the corners.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for the McLaren to sort of maintain the same stability that the Mercedes has. You know, the McLaren is that mid-engine layout, and it does have a bit of snap oversteer sort of mid-corner. So getting that power on early is definitely going to be a little bit of a trouble in the McLaren. The one place it is fantastic is obviously on the brakes and the initial turn-in. So it's good to see the different cars out on track, and you know, we've even got one Ferrari, and that's also nice to see. But Nicholas Grönström at the moment for Team Cotterbull Racing doing a fantastic job. He's now 0.4 seconds off Sam Curran and starting to reel the leader of that rookie class in. So if he continues to apply this pressure, we may see Sam Curran make a mistake. It's not his normal form, but hey, you never know. He's not normally having this sort of pressure applied to him.
No, he's not, and it's good to see that we've got the battle for the Pro. The Pro-Am is a little bit more drawn out. You can see there 6.3 second leaking. McGee is behind James Lobson, but has managed to shake off Jonathan Cook there behind. So he's probably having a boring race, is leaking McGee, but it's all about points gathering for Lee to be able to maintain that. And at the moment he'll be losing 1 point to James Logston in front. Obviously you can get the bonus of them off track, not getting any off track. So I don't know if the two guys are actually where they are on the incident level to be able to gain them extra 2 points, but James will be trying to do everything he possibly can do. Then we look back at the rookies. Alte Rudd obviously profiting massively from the Tom Savage Gordon Haig incident coming down into turn 1, and that's probably where the hottest battle is at the moment. You see Gordon Haig just slightly off the pace now, was about half a second, now 1.7, so Gordon's made a slight little mistake somewhere out on track and has to do it all again to try and close him down. But this has now let Tom Savage off the, and we've seen this out in Nürburgring where he was 10 seconds behind the first place. It was 5 seconds. You can see the gap now, 3.9 seconds. So Tom really starting to put down the hammer to try and catch Alte Rudd. Then looking further back in the rookies, we've got another close battle here between Sam Curran and Nicholas Grönström for the #1 spot. The first and second in the rookies championship respectively. So Sam currently winning out in that battle, and you know, Nicholas needs to try and get past Sam to close down that gap and get some breathing space between himself and PJC. We can see PJC at the moment currently 4th in class, and Alan Sandergaard, who's only 1 point behind PJC, will close that gap up again. But it's all going to come down to clean laps, I think, in that rookie, to see if you can try and maximise the points with the very low turnout, I suppose, in the rookie field.
Yeah, that's one thing we do see, isn't it? You know, in these longer races, clean laps is certainly something that that you want to have. If you can get those additional bonus points, that's only going to leap you up the leaderboard. And PJC, for example, tries incredibly hard to just be careful and not make silly mistakes. And you know, we see him not necessarily performing fantastically, doing as far as positions wise in his class, but because he is able to get those clean sweeps and collect those bonus points almost every round. You know, despite some incidents and so on and so forth, but he isn't far off the top of the leaderboard. So with everybody at the moment being, you know, tied very, very closely for that second place, it's fantastic to see people having different strategies in this championship.
Yeah, you can see now the field's starting to get a little bit more spread out. The current probably closest battle is the one we're watching on screen at the moment, which is headed by Stefan Anderson in 13th. You got Sam Curran and Nicholas Gronstrom just behind him, 0.6, 0.5, pretty much mirroring each other distances between the cars out in front. Dan Carpenter again still following John O'Cook by 0.6 of a second, and then we've got the battle at the front of the grid. Still again, you know, there's just nothing between these two drivers out on track. 0.4, 0.2 up to 0.5 of a second, lap after lap after lap. It just shows how metronomic these guys are and how much practice they put in to be able to get the laps done. And you know, it's why they are where they are in the championship at the head of it, because they are so good at maintaining their pace lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see the ability of some of these drivers. I mean, I'd love to see Niels win this round tonight, Andy. I think the amount of fuel that he's saving at the moment behind Thomas Wangen, that is seriously going to give him a massive leap in the pit stop section. So, you know, pit stops are coming up fairly soon, so it'll be crazy to see the difference in timing. It's all going to come down to who can hit that pit entry at the fastest speed, get on that limiter as soon as possible, and you know, we may see a change for the pro lead very shortly.
Well, that's if they have to pit. You know, probably a little bit unsure here if they have to get around. I think it'd be a tall order to get around this track on one tank of fuel. But you know, Niels is in the ideal position, pretty much been tucked up the rear wing of Thomas Wangen for pretty much the majority of this race. I mean, let's go on board and see if we can hear the car and see if he is sort of lifting and coasting. Let's have a listen. Oh, as we say that, there goes Thomas Wangen into the pit lane, and Neil Eriksen. It's going to be interesting now to see how many laps he can actually do. He did seem like he was lifting and coasting certainly a lot there, but it's going to be interesting now to see what Niels Erik Isaacson can do and how many laps he can go, considering he was tucked up behind the back of Thomas Wangen for a large portion of that race. But sort of shows here, you know, they were extremely good, Thomas Wangen, with the fuel saving aspect in races. So pretty much all the cars will probably start coming in. Gordon Haig's already been in for his pit stop. Simeon Mulderklef's already been in. So I think we're just going to see a mass entry into the pit lane. But it's going to be interesting to see now where Neil Erik Isaacson can come out after the round of pit stops. The gap was only 0.2 of a second between himself and Thomas Wangen. And the pit stop for Thomas was 13.03 seconds, so it doesn't sound, he might have changed 1 or 2 tyres there, but certainly hasn't changed everything or all 4 tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see what Niels can do. You can see him coming up here through turn number 9 now, coming down into turn 10. on track, and Thomas Wangen is currently coming up through the S's, so we'll just see how close they are on track. And although would expect him to maybe be a little bit further back than that, so it just shows that it's a relatively short pit lane on this one.
Yeah, you know, as we mentioned in the beginning of this race, the pit lane is not long at Motegi. It's really tight, and it's not one of those ones that is going to take you a long time. I mean, Thomas Wangen would have lost a heck of a lot of fuel running out in front and towing Niels Erik Huisesen along. Are we going to see Niels go for another lap? Yes, we are, by the looks of things. So that just goes to show how much fuel has been saved by just sort of sticking on the back of Thomas and not having to push the car as hard as the other drivers. But it's crazy, isn't it? The amount of fuel you can actually save just by sitting in that slipstream effect, and that could allow Niels Erik Huisesen to take the win tonight. But if Thomas has done a 13.07 pit, I mean, are we going to see sort of like a sub 12 from Niels? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what does happen.
But he's gonna be taking on a lot less fuel. I mean, it's an extra 2 laps less fuel that Niels is gonna put into the car. So you know he's gonna save on that. It's is he gonna change the tyres to be able to do? But being that close when they came in, it's certainly gonna be it's going to be in Niels' favour here, and I believe he's probably is going to be able to come out in first place. It's not going to be by a lot, don't get me wrong, but it depends what the lap times are between Niels and Thomas coming into there. But yeah, so just looking in the chat there, Tom, and you giving away free merch again.
You know me, mate, I'm always giving away to the fans, right? If you love racing, then why not sip a hot tea or whatever it is, you know, whatever your tipple out of a Performance Link Esports mug as you watch along.
Sally. Well, Gamer Dad, Gamer Dad's already run a mug and a t-shirt and a hat in one event, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's won a bit too much. I mean, I might have to I might have to remove his vote at this point. But no. And you know what's funny? Even if I wanted to remove it, you can't. So it's you know, if he does end up winning, he's he's gonna have to send us a picture that we can post upon one of the streams and show him with all this merch. So you know, we'll be bankrupt and he'll be well kitted out.
Yeah, I'll have enough mugs for every day of the week, and same with t-shirts. And Pops is there thinking, yeah, I'll enter into it, but I probably won't win again, and it'll probably come up for him, but you never know. But yeah, if you're liking the stream, guys, please give us that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, then think about subscribing. Helps us out in the channel. We're so close to 500 subscribers, and we've been on a bit of a journey here. This is our second season in the GT3, and I think we started off with about 70 subscribers, so in 2 seasons we've really turned the corner by bringing you this league for your enjoyment on there, and I really appreciate the fact that you are subscribing to us, and we're obviously trying to expand our repertoire, obviously looking at the Clio Cups as well that run on a Thursday, the week that the GT3's race, so we've got that 2 rounds left of that to go. That's a bit of a it's we've dipped our toes into the sprint, and I'm not really liking it. It's a completely different ball game than what these are, the longer sort of endurance. I think you get the red mist when you do the sprint races, so I think we'll probably limit the amount of sprint races we do here on Performance Link, because yeah, you get a lot of grief after it, certainly if the penalties don't go the way of the drivers as well. So yeah, but that's going on the Thursday before this Sunday race, so there's 2 rounds left of that that you can join and watch us with, and we're going to try to bring back a couple more seasons out there, probably another short one we are going to do, but is the super trucks, but that doesn't matter because there's literally no incident levels, there's very little penalties that you could possibly get in that car, because it's all about the contact, I think, on the super truck. But there we go.
Yeah, I'm trying not to celebrate too hard. You know, as soon as you said super trucks, I was just I was ready to leap out of the old sim rig here. But yeah, super trucks is phenomenal fun. It's one of those racing events where, you know, you can be a bit savage, well, a lot savage, let's be honest. and it doesn't seem to have too much of an impact. But it looks like we see Lance Sorensen coming into the pit lane now, and he definitely got the car stopped there. I mean, hitting the brakes a little bit too hard. I can imagine he went down to about 5 mile an hour there, not up to the 37 mile per hour pit speed limit, and that will definitely hurt him a little bit.
Definitely is. I'm trying to catch a car that's just going in so you can see an onboard view of that road. You can just see it there when Lass was coming in, where the drivers come in. So I'll try and catch one if I can, where they come into the pits. But I really want to stick with Niels at the moment. He is probably 3 laps now over where Thomas Wangen comes in, coming down along back straight after turn 10, coming down into turn 11. So is he going to come into the pits this lap, or if not, that'll be like 4 laps of fuel saving he's managed to do here. I mean, we've got 13 minutes left, so I'm pretty sure he can't eke out 13 minutes, so we should see him in shortly. But let's have a look at here. So this is where the pit entry is, and no, he does not. So
no.
This is 4 laps saved he's done by staying behind Thomas Wangen for what he did.
Yeah, that's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I could have imagined 2 laps, maybe 3, but to be able to pull 4 laps out, I hope he's not stretching the absolute dregs that are left in the bottom of that fuel tank, because you know, if he runs out, it's going to be a big old tow. But doing a fantastic job at the moment. I mean, he's still putting in decent fast lap times, so he's not really lifting and coasting or anything like that. He's going as hard as he possibly can. But one thing he may find is he after his pit, he may end up in a bit of traffic, and that will allow Thomas Wangen, who at the moment is sitting in a bit of free air, to come up on the back of him.
Yeah, definitely is. They're both doing the 150s at the moment. So Thomas was around about, his last lap was his last lap was a 151.21, where Niels Eiteisen was a 150.72. So losing near enough half a second to Niels, and it's all going into Niels' favour at the moment by being able to stretch out that lead. So it is the stroke that Niels did of just staying behind the IGL's team BMW of Thomas Wangen is really going to bring him the victory here. You can sort of see the distance now. We're looking at 7 just coming around. First place just coming around. Turn number 10 along back straight. Number 1 red, and number 7 that we're currently riding on board with is the distance was, when we were looking at back, he was coming around turn number 10, and Niels was just around turn 11. But you can see the gap that he's now actually made, and this is quite an extensive lead that he's gaining up. I'm just trying to see if he still doesn't come in. So wow, what a fuel saving stint that was.
Yeah, I mean, you must have some kind of secret going on here, because I just cannot see how he's managing to eke these laps out. But you know, if we look at the actual timing tower, or the timing access that we have, you know, we still do have some drivers that haven't pit yet, even in this later stage in the race. So it's going to be crazy to see what does happen. I mean, Alte Red, for example, you know, for Team Vikings, he hasn't pit either. So it's interesting, like you said, Andy, to see these drivers manage to pull out the distance that they have.
Yeah, it is, and we look there. Stefan Anderson has now managed to get past Tom Savage, but Tom has pitted in this, so that as soon as Stefan comes in for his pit stop, will be role reversal. But you can see the gap there between Alte Rudd and Tom Savage is a sizable difference. Let's just see if I can get one of these. No, they've all got in, haven't they? Missed it again. But they're starting to come in thick and fast now. We got Matt Genstrom back in, Michael Goff just coming out of the pits as well, on track with Stefan Anderson is still going around. There's quite a few drivers that seem to have done some real homework on saving fuel, and we're just past the hour mark. 10 minutes left in this race. Can anyone get to the end of this race without doing a pit stop? I think it's going to be extremely hard, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine anybody will be able to actually make the distance. I just can't see whether it will happen or not. But having a little look at the chat at the moment, AKM Racing. Oh, as we see Daniel Carpenter has spun it in the Audi. That looks like coming onto the pit straight there. So very rare to see people spinning on that corner, but he's obviously overcooked it. And as we've seen before, you know, with those difference in fuel loads and difference in tyre wear, it's easy to see people make mistakes.
Yeah, that was turn number 10 that Daniel spun out, so we've seen a few cars doing it there, but look at that. We got James Logsdon behind. Here we go. You can see the pit entry. Managed to get one of them. Very snaky coming into the pit entry here as Daniel comes in for his stop in the Audi. But at least I caught one of them, mate, anyway.
No, I appreciate that. But yeah, looking at how small the pit lane is here, you know, it is basically just a stone's throw until the end there. But that now has allowed James Logsdon to eke his way out in front, as we were expecting. That Porsche is really working today around this twin ring MOTEGI track, and I mean, is that a little bit of sunshine coming out? It potentially could be. So it's really working out for James at the moment. You know, he's already done his pit. He's quite far out in front, and his closest competitor at the moment is Leaking McGee, but he's a substantial amount of time behind. It's not going to really affect Lee too much in the point standings. It is going to make a slight difference, but I believe he'll still maintain that lead in the championship. And you know, but once again, it's nice to see James doing what he does best and leading out the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, it definitely is, and he's done all he can here today. Leaking McGee is certainly following suit and doing what he can, just maintaining that close proximity to James in the point standings to give it maximum effort for Lee. As we see here, Neil's coming into the pit stop and coming around that tight, twisty track, and the cameras obviously missed out that last little bit. But let's have a look, stay on board with Neil Eric Iracing. We'll have a look, see what happens for the pit stops. Coming into the stop, we can see, let me see where on track. We're looking at car number 7 in the second place there, just coming up through the S's. Coming on to the start finishes Thomas Wangen as Niels is exiting. And I think he's going to be in the lead by a substantial, yes he is, by a substantial mark, 6 seconds. 5 is coming down, around about 5 seconds gap has Neil Eric Iracing pulled over Thomas Wangen for doing them extra 4 or 5 laps. His pit stop timing was 7.62 seconds against 13 seconds for Thomas Wangen, so that is where all the time has been gained for Niels. And again, he's on for a really good win. Only 7 minutes left, 6 minutes left of this race to go. It's a masterstroke again from the Norwegian for a possible other win here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the sheer fact that he's able to do a 7.7 second pit stop, I mean, that is the definition of a splash and dash, isn't it? So hopefully he doesn't have any incidents, obviously, into this very, very late stage of the race. But as we see Kjetil Larsen now just jumping into the pits, we're seeing Tom Savage on board right now, looking for a move down the inside on Sander Island. He has managed to just about squeak it through, but I can't imagine Sander's going to take that line down. But I could be wrong, you never know. The BMW is fighting back slightly on the straights, and he decides to just tuck it in there and relinquish the position. So the Mercedes looking awfully racing, as we've seen in many rounds before. Tom Savage is doing a fantastic job being able to pull the pace out and get that Mercedes up into an even higher position and take the win potentially for the AM class.
Yeah, he's managed to get past Alte Rudd for that lead, and it must have been his lap in. Yeah, I'm just looking at his last lap, Alte Rudd, 155.11. His pit stop was 9.62 seconds, whereas Tom Savage was 13.38. So 4 seconds quicker, but it just shows the speed that Tom Savage has out on track. He's doing low 151s, whereas Alte, obviously, like I said, his last lap was a 155. And that's where all the time has been gained and clawed back by Tom Savage. And it's just what we come to expect from Tom. Is he's an extremely quick driver when he's out on track, but has had a couple of mistakes, but finds himself back out in front and again fighting with cars of a different class really here.
Yeah, you know, he's just weaving his way through the field at the moment of all kinds of different classes. So yeah, he's a very strong driver. You know, as we've seen him before in multiple different rounds, he's very, very fast, and once he does get in the zone, he's pretty much gone and does start to leave the leave the field behind. But a masterclass by Niels-Erik Isaacson, obviously with that lead over Thomas Wangen at the moment with saving fuel, but another masterclass at the moment from Tom Savage. So doing a fantastic job in that Mercedes for the Bear Pub Zero team.
Definitely is, and there's been a change in the rookie field. Nicholas Gronstrom has managed to get past Sam Curran for the lead of the rookie. So this will be a point swing at the moment if he can stay like this, but Sam is only a second behind Nicholas Gronstrom, and that looks like, again, the pit stops. I'm just having a look at the time. So Sam's was 13.18, where Nicholas was 11.93, so that was the difference of the changeover in positions, because these two have been pretty much following each other for the whole entire race we've had here. 106 minutes we've been racing so far, only 3 minutes left, so probably 1 or 2 laps remaining. So the number 1 has literally just gone over the start finish line, so there's going to be 2 laps left to race for these rookie drivers, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins out in this rookie battle.
I just wanted to verify with you, Andy, looking at the timing tower and looking at the pit stops, does that look like to me as well, if you can confirm it, has Sander Island not hit yet?
That is correct. He is not pitted, which himself and Kim Andre Borkland, so the 2 Sim Racing Norway teams, have not pitted yet. They haven't really profited from that because they're still mid-pack in this race. And not so, if they've been fuel saving to get around to not pitting here, it's not really paid off for them because they're pretty much quite far down in their class.
Yeah, it's a shame to see that that strategy hasn't worked out for them at the moment. So sorry, excuse the dog barking in the background. But it's crazy to see that sometimes the strategy just does not work out in your favor, and the amount of fuel saving that they've had to do in order to eke it out to the very final minutes and seconds of this round. It's just not worked well enough to be off the pace so much, so not finding themselves in fantastic positions, and a commendable achievement to be able to make it round, but still not enough.
It's not. We joined back with this battle that's been going on since the opening laps of Jonathan Cook here in P5, with Daniel Carpenter just stuck onto the rear bumper of that Mercedes, and Daniel's probably could pinpoint every single nook and cranny at the back of that Mercedes driver, because he's been literally driving behind it for so long now. But these two have been having an epic battle out on track, and put pay to them two guys. They're going to be enjoying the race, even though it is, in fact, it's for the last podium position out on track. So again, Matt's going to try back in with the probably a little mistake we saw earlier on, who's in 4th place and just seen going around the corner in the background. But these two are fighting over the last podium position on track. But let's join back up with Niels-Erik Isaacson here, 3.9 seconds ahead of his teammate Thomas Wangen, as he's coming up through the S's here on what will be the last lap of this race. 15 seconds to go, so this should be the last lap of this race for the IGL Coatings driver Niels-Erik Isaacson, and has really been a masterclass in fuel saving. Literally stuck behind the rear wing of Thomas Wangen for the best part of an hour of this race, saved 4 extra laps worth of fuel, and that has really been the difference between him losing or winning. But just watching him here coming down the last long straight after turn number 10 down into turn number 11, so only a couple more corners for the IGL Coatings driver to navigate through to get another win and extend that lead at the top of the Pro Championship to 5 points. Could be even more if there's any zero incidents points as well. So it's been a great day at the office for Niels-Erik Isaacson. He comes home for another win, 2 in a row for the Norwegian, to extend his lead at the top of the Pro standard. And Thomas Wangen there in the background coming home in 2nd place, and James Logsdon taking 3rd place overall and 1st place in the Pro-Am, with Lee King McGee just coming home in second, so doing all he can to maintain that decent lead at the top of the Pro standings. But let's look further back at the Am. So we're looking at Tom Savage here coming down into turn number 11, and pretty much got a 2.8 second lead over Alte Rudd, who was a long-time leader after we saw the incident between Tom Savage and Gordon Haig earlier on in this race. But a great comeback again that we come to see every week from Tom Savage, who takes another race win in that Am field there to extend his lead at the top of the Am Championship. So the little blip last week seems well and truly in the past, and he comes out on top with Alte Rudd coming over the line for another valuable second. So that's the first and the second in the last 2 rounds. Let's have a look further back then at this rookie battle, and we can see there coming over the last corner, and I think Nicholas Gronstrom is going to keep that position over Sam Curran. So a great win there for Nicholas Gronstrom, who was pushed to the line by Sam Curran. So there's been some great battling out on track, and we can see that battle that we were watching early on between Jonathan Cook and Daniel Carpenter. Daniel just not able to get that passing move done, 0.2 of a second behind Jonathan Cook, but those two had a really good battle out on track for the race. And then I'm just looking further down, and I think that is probably everybody come across. There's the fire-breathing McLaren there, just on cue. But that's great. Simeon Motorclub's actually still going. Oh, what's Simeon doing? Where's he at? Just coming, having a little spin over the start-finish line here to be our last finisher of the race.
Yeah, Simeon just making it a fairly memorable one there right at the end, putting in the last lap of a 2-minute 43.8. So unfortunately having a horrendous last lap there. Maybe another mistake that we didn't manage to catch on camera, but unfortunate for Simeon once again, and hopefully he can get it together for the final couple of rounds.
Definitely is, but let's have a look at the result here for round number 10 of the Performance Link GT3 Cup Season 2. So our winner, a 2-time winner here in 2 rounds, Neil Eric Eisen, after a masterclass in the pit stop strategy, winning over from his teammate 3.4 seconds ahead of him. James Logston takes the 3rd place overall and 1st place in the Pro-Am field, so doing all he can to try and close the gap to Lee King McGee, who finished in 4th place, 2nd in the Pro-Am field, so only limits the point loss to 1 point to James. John Cook brings all a valuable podium as well for him after what has been probably a season to forget, but he does have moments of glory in what has been probably a poor season by his standards, finishing there in 5th and 3rd overall. Daniel Carpenter kept him honest through the whole entire race, just wasn't able to get that passing opportunity over John O'Cook. Matt Genston back in 7th, with Michael Goff finishing in 8th. Tom Savage wins out in the Anfield after coming from behind to overtake Alte Rudd, who got 2nd place after his 1st place last week out. Lars Saracen in P11th, still 3rd in the Pro field, so still getting valuable points. Sander Island in 12th, with Ketsu Larson in 13th. Gordon Haig in 14th, a long time leader of the Anfield, coming home in 3rd place overall after that probably incident with Tom Savage down into the 1st corner. Nicholas Gronstrom having a great win there in the rookie. Long time coming. It's been a while since we've seen Nicholas at the top step of the podium for the rookie class, but takes one home for the team. Kimon Joey Bortland in 16th, with Sam Curran coming home in 2nd in that rookie class. Stefan Anderson in 18th. Let's round out the rest of the field. Russ Fowler in 19th, with Alan Sandergaard in 20th. Toby Melee in 21st, with Paul Joseph Clist in 22nd, with Simeon Moldeclef a lap down, and Mads Sayer retiring earlier on in the race. So that's very much the race, and it was a good one, Tom, wasn't it?
Yeah, Twin Room MOTEGI, actually, a lot of people say it's a bit flat and a bit boring, but we saw some fantastic battling there, and obviously the drivers making some some errors that you normally wouldn't see on a track that doesn't seem, too scary by comparison. But crazy to see a lot of spins. But we did say at the beginning of the round, that turn 3, turn 4, and also turn 9, just putting it to the drivers and not allowing some of the people that should have struck higher up in the battles to actually get there by having those incidents. So just quickly before we jump to the interview waiting room, I'm just going to pick a winner for our raffle. So that will jump up on the YouTube chat in just a second, but I'll let you take it away, Andy, to see who we're going to bring into the booth.
It's got to be the winner of the race today, and we welcome in Neil-Erik Isaacson into the box. Niels, a great day at the office for you. Just take us through that race from start to finish, and was it always your task to stick behind Thomas, try to fuel save, and then try and overshoot him in the pits?
No, I don't think we didn't have any plan, but last time around in the beginning we tried a different strategy that I was going to lead, but he couldn't hang on, and then I think now he wanted to control the pace. So I managed to save a lot of fuel, so and tires and everything. So
I mean,
yeah, that was
4 laps, isn't it? I mean, 4 laps you managed.
No, yeah, he went in before he had to.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I mean, in the realms of the championship, you are coming on at the perfect opportunity to show your performance level in that, Thomas was a long time leader in that pro field, and then you really overtook him last week, and with your win here again today, you've obviously extended that lead out. I mean, it's going to go all the way down to the wire between you two, isn't it, for sure?
Yeah, it looks like that. I think actually we are on par today because he didn't get any X's and I got 1. So I think it's pretty much the same point tally today. I'm not sure.
Oh, he would have gained a point. If you had 1 and he had none, that would have given him 2 points for that. So he would have clawed it back. But I mean, it's certainly going to go down to the wire between you two, isn't it? All the way to Bathurst.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. We haven't put in that much hours lately, so yeah, we are actually driving GT3s in the Norwegian Championship later this year, so it's a good training arena for us to drive in the league. But it's a real big shame that we are only IGLs in the pro. I really don't understand why people don't want to just hop in and take a race, but that's how it is.
It is, but like you said, it's good practice, and it's great for us to see because you two are the main protagonists in that pro-am field, the pro field at the front end. So it's good that we've got you two that are providing the entertainment for the pro class in here. But how have you enjoyed the season as a whole so far, and with the remaining rounds coming up, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Of course, it's much more fun when we are more people. And today you saw that James actually could have. He could probably have won the whole thing if he could stick with us, because he had a great pace today. So yeah, it's a bit shame that we don't start at the same time, everyone. So. My wish for the next season is that you do something about that.
Well, we will be doing something, but we won't divulge it yet. But yeah, we'll be sort of changing it. And with James being where he is in that pro-am field, you may see him in the pro category next season if he joins, and that will certainly be entertaining, along with probably Lee King McGee as well, the top 2 in there. But it's been great having you, and another great win for yourself. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, mate?
Yeah, of course. Today I want to thank you guys for the league. I enjoy it. It's a bit too few pros, but let's hope some of them comes back just for the 2 next rounds. And also to the team, and especially Thomas, and of course our sponsors, Sande Trafikkskole and the IGL Coatings.
Definitely is. But
Yeah.
congratulations on another victory, mate, and making this top of the pro standing so good. And I'll see what I can do to get a few more pro drivers to come in for the final couple.
It's a good fight, at least.
Exactly, mate. But, congratulations, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there was Neil Eric Eisen. Another race win for him. Let's pull in James for you to talk on our top pro-am driver, Tom.
James, welcome to the booth. Absolute, just phenomenal pace from you today in the Porsche. I mean, can you explain to us what your secret was in order to be essentially battling up there for for a even a podium in the pros? So third overall, fantastic job.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a secret. It's just the Porsche actually is. This is one of the tracks the Porsche is really good at, and we finally ended up at a track where the Porsche can really excel. So I think I just lucked out with the car really being happy there.
Now you say that it was obviously made for the Porsche, and that's something we did mention on stream, that the cars that aren't normally essentially the big winners out on track were able to put in some decent laps here. We did see good laps from obviously yourself and the McLaren that was out there today. But did you put much practice in coming to Twin Ring Motegi? Is it a track you've driven before, or is it one that you enjoyed? Or I mean, what's your thoughts on the actual track itself?
Yeah, so I've driven it a couple times before, not a whole lot, mostly in GT3s, so that was useful. This is the first time I've really driven it in the Porsche, though. And so I ended up doing basically probably 2 or 3 30-minute practice sessions. I didn't do a full stint. I basically just did enough to look at what tire wear would be like, if I was feeling comfortable with pace and things like that, driving safe. It's definitely really important for me right now to get a really good result and also just not wreck. So that was my main focus on the practice session. And then yeah, just the experience from earlier I think helped me out, and I think it's a really fun track to drive. It doesn't really get a lot of shows, so I'm glad it was added this season.
Well, we're glad that you enjoyed it. So obviously in the pro-ams now, the championship lead is getting awfully spicy. Are you looking to claim that top prize with the couple of rounds you've got remaining?
I would really like to, definitely. I think it's going to be really, really tough. He's still got a pretty decent lead. I'm not sure what the point gap will be after this race. I'm pretty sure there's bonus points for podiuming in Pro-Am, I think. So that'll be helpful. I was hoping to get the clean race bonus points as well today. Almost did, except for I got one incident point grabbing a little bit of dirt just before I went into the pits. So I won't get those bonus points. Those have been really useful. But I think Suzuka is going to go. I think Suzuka is going to be another really good track for the Porsche. Tire wear might be a little concerning. We're going to have to find out during this week. But I'm really worried about Bathurst. Bathurst has always been a really tough track for me, especially in the Porsche. It's just the rear end nature of the car going up that hill. It just never feels quite safe.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully the Porsche will work out for you. But obviously with Suzuka, that is one of the tracks that the Porsche should absolutely excel at. You are going to have to obviously bear in mind the, I believe it's the 130R on the back half of the track there, which is that fast left-hander for anybody that doesn't know Suzuka. Are you going to be looking now early on to work on a setup for the Suzuka round?
Yep, I'm probably going to spend, so I know we're getting a patch this week. I don't think the Porsche that we're driving is going to be changing, so I'm not too concerned about that. So over the next week or two, I think we have a gap week next weekend for the Glen, is that right?
Yeah.
So I'll be spending the next 2 weeks definitely trying to hone a good setup for the race, make sure I'm prepared for it. I really need that win, so I'm going to put all my effort into it.
Well, speaking of effort, mate, you've done a fantastic job today. Third place overall and winning obviously out in Pro-Am. So absolutely massive congratulations for yourself and the Team Bear Pope guys out there. So before we let you go, is there anybody you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, first I'd like to give a shout out to Thomas Savage. He made our paints today, and I think they look really great. So I love having various paints we can use throughout the season. I think they always look great. And then also my dad, who I think is watching the stream right now. So hey, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, we did see your dad comment on there a few times, so we need to get him entered in a raffle so we can send him some merch. So that would be good. So next time there's a raffle, he needs to get himself in there. But once again, massive congratulations and another win out there for you in the Porsche today, mate.
All right, thank you.
So that was James, our top Pro-Am driver. It's going to be a tall order to try and claim the mountain back, and like you were saying, probably them extra two points for no incidents would have been vital in come the end of the season. But all he can do is try and win the races out, and all Lee can do is try and follow him. So it's going to be a cat and mouse scenario for the remaining 2 rounds. But without further ado, let's bring in our last interviewee for tonight, and it's the one and only Tom Savage. Tom, welcome to the box. Again, you made it sort of hard work for yourself with the incident that we saw with Gordon Haig around turn number 1. But you showed your pace on track and was able to still get the win there. Just talk us through the race from your point of view.
Yeah, it was... I was hoping it was going to be a nice, boring race, and it ended up not being. But luckily, it turned out all right in the end, for me at least.
Yeah, definitely.
Haven't watched the incident yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, it definitely is. But you're extremely racy when you're behind a car. We were commenting a few times saying, where you are in the championship doesn't sort of reflect your driving style out on track. Are you always looking for the race win and always sort of trying to get that one better when you're out on the track?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It's probably not the right strategy, but I want to finish where my pace says, and if that's in front of somebody, then I've got to make that happen. Yeah. I do try and be sensible. I was following behind people for several laps. I was, showing my face, making sure he knew I was there, but never really sending it. And then I thought I was fairly far past, but we don't need to discuss that today. We'll save that for Wednesday.
I'm sure we will see on the pit stop. But you've made up for last week's race. You sort of had the same incident again where the top 2 were taken out, and then you had to try and claw back the time. Luckily, you had the time to do it. Your pace has been phenomenal in a car that's not really known for tight, twisty tracks like Twin Wing Motegi. You're probably more suited to the McLaren, the Porsche. We've seen from James being exceptionally good around this track. But you seem to make it work in that Mercedes. What's the secret to your success, if you want to divulge it to everybody in that Mercedes?
I think it's partly driving style. I much prefer not understeery, but a car that's not going to oversteer to death very often, and that's what the AMG is. It fits me quite well. I've tried other cars. I've driven the Lamborghini and the Audi quite a lot, and that was when the Merc got nerfed into oblivion. Then the new one came along, and it's been that ever since, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah. But I mean, you've certainly excelled in this championship. We're going into the final 2 rounds at Suzuka, and then the final one at Bathurst, and it's pretty much your championship now to lose in that AMP class. Is that the way you're feeling, and does that put extra pressure on you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair statement to say. I've tried not to get pressure on me, like you say. I'm racing every race as its own. That's why I'm going for overtakes on people. I don't want to win in second place. That's boring. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, it shows on track that you certainly got the pace. You're probably week on week mixing it with a pro field, and obviously if you join us for season 3, you will be mixing it with them, so probably getting a little bit of practice at this early stage to seeing what the cars are around you, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never deliberately trying to race people in different classes. It's not really worth it, but certainly early on in this race when Gordon was behind me, I had to get past them because he was on pace with me, and in my practice I maintained a decent pace for the first 10 laps, and then I really dropped off. It wasn't so bad today. I don't know whether it was like the humidity, it was very misty or whatever, but I managed to keep it up other than incidents, so it went better than I was expecting, generally.
Well, that's what you can ask for, isn't it? And what's better than expecting them to actually win your class here at the Twin Wing Motegi? A lot of drivers saying that they didn't really know this track or driven this track. Where do you stand on your expertise around twin ring Motegi?
I've done one GT3 race here about 2 years ago. So, maybe that's more than most.
It probably is, actually. How do you enjoy it? Do you like the track? It doesn't seem to be a firm favourite in iRacing, really, but I think it adds a little bit more to a racetrack than the usual GT3 tracks. What do you think?
I enjoyed it after I got used to it. I think both this and Hockenheim, I tend to struggle with tracks that have a lot of wide tarmac, and you have to sort of pick your line out with no real reference. There's no curbs to say, okay, position it here. You just have to sort of eyeball it, and particularly the last chicane on this track, I've struggled with that for quite a long time this week. And I only really got it down yesterday, so paid off, hopefully.
Well, you got it down for the right time, which is the race. So congratulations on winning yet another race in the Anfield. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'll give a shout out to all the guys who aren't here. You don't know what you're missing. It was a great race, and hopefully we can see more as we go to the next races and then the next season.
Yeah, it definitely is. And a big thank you from us as well for your excellent liveries that James said that you made. I particularly like your Japanese style approach, considering we're in the Pacific region.
Yes, yeah. It's another one of my hobbies, and we had to do something a bit more interesting as the season got on.
Definitely is, mate, and fully enjoyable. But congratulations, mate, and look forward to seeing you out in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka, and see if you can keep the vein going and the winning streak. So well done, mate.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. So there was Tom Savage, after probably making it a little bit harder than he needed to back out on track, and yeah, it's been a good race, hasn't it, Tom? I mean, what's your highlight?
I think my highlight of the race was seeing that Porsche just be phenomenal around this track. It's my favorite car, and it's the staple I always go to in GT3, and to see it perform today was something absolutely fantastic. But as you were speaking, obviously there with Tom Savage, I mean, another fantastic drive by him, and there was lots of highlights, to be honest. And being able to call out the fact that we were going to see crashes at turn 3 and turn 4, that was my own personal highlight.
They should listen to you, mate, the guru of where to come off on track. But no, it's been a great event here today, and lucky all the action has been out on track, and not people taking other people off. But whatever the guys decide to protest, we will be going through that at our pit stop on Wednesday, where we go through this round of the GT3 and plus the previous round of the Clio Cup. So very entertaining to show how we award the penalty to the drivers, or no penalty, depending on how we make the findings. So please come and join us from that. And the only way you're going to find out that we are live is by clicking that subscribe button and clicking the bell to notify you of when we go live, so you can come along, join at the activities that go on in that pit stop. It's a very interactive thing with a very vibrant chat that goes on with all the drivers looking and turning out to be some sort of stewarding gods, as always. But yeah, it's good fun. But from us here at Performance Link GT Cup Round 10 of Season 2, we're going to bid you farewell and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time, where we're on the penultimate round here at Suzuka for the final Format A, before we then go on the week later to the final round of the season at Bathurst for the Endurance 2-hour event. So please come along and join us at the same time for them events to see who wins out in the season that has been super close throughout. But from myself, Andy Thompson, from Tom Bingham beside me in the box, we're going to bid you farewell and look forward to seeing you next time. Good night.
Good night.